Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with Powers. I'm Jake. In today's video, I'll be giving you my in-depth review of the board game Tabletop Inc, published by Cotswold Games. Now, Tabletop Inc is a board game for 1 to 6 players, ages 14 plus, right around 60 minutes per playthrough. This is designed by Madeleine and Joseph Adams, and our artwork here is done by Big Fruit. All right. Now, if this is your first time watching an in-depth review from us, we might go a little bit more in-depth than some other content creators do, and we break the game down into several different categories. These categories are theme, components, setup, length, difficulty, replayability, and price. Within each of these 7 different categories, I will give them a number rating equivalent to the BGG scale. And then at the conclusion of me talking about those 7 different categories and rating them, I will go ahead and give my overall rating of the game, where I'll kind of recap and give a summary of those ratings, and then also talk about some things that I really liked about the game and some things that I particularly did not enjoy about the game. Last but not least, guys, to finish up the video, since majority of these games that I review on our channel, I do back from either Kickstarter or GameFound, I will ask the proverbial question: if I had the opportunity to back this game again, would I do so? All right, guys, well, let's go ahead and jump into today's review, starting off with the theme. So remember, when it comes to the theme, we take a look at how well the game immerses the players into the setting or story. And I'm gonna go ahead and give Tabletop Inc a 7.5 out of 10. I think Tabletop Inc has a good theme, right? Their theme is present with this one, and the theme does make sense, but sometimes I think the theme can feel secondary to the mechanics of the game. So what is the overall theme of Tabletop Inc? Well, Tabletop Inc is a board game essentially about making board games. And so you are taking on the role of a board game company, and you're gonna have some workers, and through worker placement, you're gonna be taking a bunch of different actions to gain resources and knowledge and things like that. And then you're gonna use these resources to craft game boxes, craft components, craft mechanisms, and then eventually publish your game where you're gonna score victory points. Now, there's a little bit more depth than that because you can hire specialists and freelancers and things like that. But for me, guys, I just think, as I said earlier, it's very heavy worker placement style game. And so sometimes that worker placement can kind of overshadow the theme here of all the components and kind of the artwork and how they've kind of pieced this game together. Really quickly, I want to go ahead and jump down to the table and show you these mechanics and kind of how they tie into the theme. All right, guys, so we are down here at the table where we would have everything set up for a playthrough of Tabletop Inc. Now, as I mentioned earlier, guys, the overall objective of Tabletop Inc is to create and publish a board game. So in order to do that, you will need to craft a game box, okay? So you will take a game box, you will need to craft a component here, or a mechanism, I'm sorry, and then you will need to craft a component. All right, and there are different levels to each of these game boxes, components, and mechanisms. So you see here, there's a level 1, level 2, and level 1, 2, and 3, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, sorry, of each of the game boxes, the components, and the mechanism. And the cool part about this game is you'll be able to place all of these different components in here. So we got a game called The Shire. We're gonna do a D6 die, and this is gonna be a bag building game called The Shire, and then I will be able to take a certain action to publish that game, and now I have scored points. And so, as I mentioned, guys, you are going to primarily be doing this through worker placement. So everybody's going to have 4 starting workers, and then throughout the game, you'll have the opportunity to hire these specialists right here, which they will have their own unique standee or acrylic standee, and they will count as an extra worker that you can place out as well. But each of them are going to want to be placed in a certain spot to give you some particular bonuses. But the main core of the game, or the main actions you guys are going to be taking here, is kind of in this area of the board. This action, when you take this action, you can choose to either craft that component or craft that mechanism. So you're going to use research in order for the components. You're going to use playtest tokens to craft these mechanisms, and then inspiration to craft these game boxes, right? And then you're going to come over here to publish your board game. There's also a cool little unique thing where you can do this award section right here. In the deluxe edition of the game, I should probably mention now that this this is the deluxe version of the game that you're seeing here today. So just know that all the standees are upgraded to acrylic. This wooden box or this wooden shelf came with this, and then some of the components that you see here and wooden tokens are acrylic, or not acrylic. The tokens are wooden as well. So just know that this is the deluxe edition of the game. So some of the pieces that you see here might not be in the retail or standard edition of the game. But I digress. Back to the awards. You'll have this shelf where you'll be able to place these different award tokens on there, and there's going to be 3 of each, and you will have award cards in your hand that you'll be able to look and see, and if you match that criteria, you'll be able then to slot your board game in that specific area to show it to everybody and claim the bonus awards. So that's kind of the overall theme. Again, the mechanics are worker placement, placing these workers out, getting the bonuses or taking that specific action, and then your main goal is to try and craft these components and pieces you need to make a board game, and then finally publish your board game where you're going to score victory points. And so you might be able to see how there's a lot of really cool things here thematically, but like I said, because it is a Euro style feel, I think sometimes this worker placement kind of overshadows the coolness or uniqueness of this theme, because you just get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just trying to create as many board games as I possibly can, so I'm going here every turn, or I'm going here. You don't really sit back and have time to appreciate the thematic presence that this game is bringing you. So 7.5 out of 10 for the theme. All right, guys, I'm going to stay down here at the table and talk about the components. So I'm going to go ahead and give the components an 8 out of 10. I think there's some great quality components to this game, especially in that deluxe edition, with only a few minor things that you would see in standard board games. So for example, the board, I think it's a double-sided board. The other side is more thematic and it's very, very chaotic. This is the other side. It's more simple. It's easy. They have things separated in different sections. So a red section, a blue section, and a green section. I think they've done a wonderful job with this, making it very easy to know a particular action that you want to do. You just look in that particular section, okay? The cards. They have a bunch of small mini cards, and this is not all the cards in the game. They have more player cards, and they have a module, which is like a WoW and POW module, that is going to add like asymmetric abilities or different powers to your characters and stuff like that. Cards are just generic, right? So run-of-the-mill Euro style cards. Let's see, the standees, super nice. I do enjoy these acrylic standees. What's unique is on the front, they got the standard acrylic style, but on the back, it's almost like printed on is the wrong word, but it's, I don't know how to say, pronounce is the wrong word. I don't quite know the word that I'm looking on. It almost looks painted on, but it looks really nice on the backside as well. So acrylic standees look nice. The abundance of game boxes, we'll go ahead and just throw this insert out here in the middle. So here's some of the vast majority of the other components in the game. You have an abundance of all of these different game boxes with the particular names on them and different, you know, like capitalism is supposed to mirror monopoly, right? You got a bunch of these different game boxes. They are kind of loose and flimsy. Sometimes these things might, if they're not glued on properly, they'll pop up. So I've had 2 or 3 boxes for that happen as well. There's a player aid underneath here. Super impressed with the player aid. The main tokens are all just generic standard cardboard punch out. So your coins here, all of your mechanism tokens, your award tokens, your component tokens are just generic cardboard punch out. I wish they made these wooden in the deluxe edition of the game. And then you got your meeples and then all the actual inspiration tokens, the playtest tokens, the time tokens, and the research tokens as well. All those tokens, these are part of the upgrade deluxe pack. And then you have your easels, okay? I don't really understand the use of these easels. You'll use these to place essentially your company card or whoever you choose to be on this easel to kind of display to everybody. I think they could have done without that. Let's see what else we have for components. You guys can see all the acrylic standees right here. Here's some more cards down here. We have the tables. Now, I do believe these are upgraded tables that come in the deluxe edition. While these are really nice, you guys might be able to see that some of these tables are already starting to fray and kind of peel off. They've been used maybe once or twice. And so that's kind of a little disappointing that the felt is starting to come undone from these player trays here. And then last but not least, guys, we have the wooden shelf, which is just nice and feels amazing as well. The insert, really enjoy the insert. They have a place for everything. It's super easy. I got everything individually bags. Every component fits in here, nice and snug. And then there's no lid lift whatsoever. So they've done a great job here with this insert. So all in all, right, there's a lot of things. There's some components that are excellent. There's some components that are just generic. And so that's why I'm kind of coming here in the middle, giving us an 8 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the setup. So when it comes to the setup, we are taking a look at the time and ease of getting the game to the table and getting it ready to go. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I think there's some moderate setup here with a few steps. There's a bunch of different decks you're gonna have to get out and shuffle around the table. Your freelancer, your specialist, your item, your objective deck, your skill card deck. You're gonna have to get the player components out, which are the tables, the workers. They're gonna have their own set of cards that they're gonna have as well. You are going to need to get out all the acrylic standees, all the tokens and components, all the boxes and the mechanisms and the component tiles. And that's really what's gonna take you the longest, is getting out all these boxes and components and tiles and kind of sorting them out into their different levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. All in all, this is probably gonna take you under 8 minutes, I would say. Under 8 minutes would be the mark there, which is why I'm giving this one a 7.5 out of 10. Again, I think it's just moderate setup here with a few shuffling and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's nothing super tedious at all. So 7.5 out of 10. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the length. So when it comes to the length, we are taking a look at how well the game fits the experience, not necessarily the total time, but the pacing and overall satisfaction of playing the game. And I'm gonna go ahead and give the length an 8 out of 10. Look, I think there's some great pacing to Tabletop Inc. I think they've managed to take a Euro style game and give it a streamlined feel. But however, at the end of the day, I do feel like, especially at the 2-player count, some games do feel shorter than ideal. Now, it does say 60 minutes on the box, but the way the game ends, and they hit that 60-minute mark. Sometimes it's about a 50-minute game. Not a whole lot of a difference, but the way the game ends, or the way the length of the game is going to work and the game ends, is you're going to have a tracker on the victory point and it's going to move backwards. So in a 2-player game, it's going to start on the 40 victory point spot. And for every worker that you pull back on your turn, you are going to reduce it that many spaces. So at first, some people might put all 4 workers out and then pull them back. They're going to reduce the track 4 times. So everybody gets 10 rounds, or 10 total rounds of pulling those workers back. That's going to add up to 40, right? But it's not that simple, because you can hire these freelancers, which count as extra workers. And so you pull them back. There might be turns where, I might have 5 or 6 workers and I pull all of them back. My opposing player has 5 or 6 workers, we pull them back. And now we've gone back 12 steps and we're already halfway through. So I just feel like sometimes here that while it is a great pacing, while there is great satisfaction, and I think it does a great job of fitting the overall experience, there is sometimes where the game does feel a little bit shorter than ideal, which is why I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the difficulty. So when we're taking a look at the difficulty, we're gonna look at how complex the rules and the decision-making process is. If you remember, the higher the number, we are basically evaluating that game as a heavy Euro style game where it's going to be rulebook heavy and there's going to be a lot of analysis paralysis. A 0 or a 1 on our scale, right, is very kid friendly. You can learn it in minutes and there's essentially no reading required. So knowing that information, I'm coming here with a 6 out of 10. I think Tabletop Inc. is a thinky game that's going to require a little bit of planning and rules familiarity, right? It is a mid-weight Euro style feel. You have 14 different actions you can take, and so kind of at first it's overwhelming with just the different amount of actions, but once you kind of start playing through, like I said, you get the feel and the hang of the game, which the overall objective is to create board games. So you're playing through it and you're like, okay, really guys, my whole focus just needs to be about creating these different board games. So I just need to collect inspiration tokens to get game boxes. I need to collect research tokens for the components and playtest tokens for the mechanisms. So that way I can go to those different spots, create those components, and then publish my game. So while there is a lot of actions and there's a lot of different things going on, I feel the core rules are very streamlined and easy because they lead you to a process of knowing exactly what you need to do. And of course, there's little ways you can pick up victory points here and there, but the main way you're gonna get victory points is by publishing these games. So, like I said, it does require a little bit of planning and rules familiarity, but I think it does a wonderful job of kind of moving you along in that regard. So that's why we're coming in here with a 6 out of 10, because this is a medium weight thinky style game. All right, guys, moving on to the replayability. So when it comes to the replayability, we're taking a look at how fresh and engaging the game feels after multiple plays. And I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. I think there's great replayability here with Tabletop Inc. Who doesn't love a board game about making board games, right? And I think they do a good job of mixing it up with all the different types of freelancers that do different things, all the different types of specialists that do different things. I think I like how they have both specialists and freelancers. So freelancers basically are an extra worker that gives you like bonus stuff when you take a specific action, and your freelancers are basically guys that give you a extra bonus, or not almost say bonus action, they give you an action that you could take that is usually better than one of the additional 14 actions that are on the board. However, they don't count as an additional worker, so you still have 4, right? I love that, you know, there's objective cards with end-game scoring. There's item cards and skill cards that you can buy throughout the game to kind of, or get throughout the game to help kind of enhance, get you more resources, different things like that. So there's a bunch of different options here. You know, obviously the game is going to be scored almost the same way every time, but I think they just do a great job with the variety of the game. There's a module that's the WoW and POW module that can add in like different abilities and powers. And so I think they just do a great job giving you a bunch of different options. And of course, the theme of a board game about making board games doesn't hurt them all as well. So 8 out of 10 for replayability. All right, guys, moving on to the price. So when it comes to the price, we are looking at the value for the cost, right? We're not necessarily looking at the price tag, but what you get in this game for essentially that price tag. So I backed this for $90 US on GameFound. And so at that price point with everything that came in it and the deluxe edition, I'm gonna give that one a 7 out of 10. Look, I think it's a okay price. It's a decent price. I think it is slightly overpriced for essentially what you are getting. Again, most deluxe editions of games now, I think, run in that $60 to $80 mark, and they all include a lot of the same things. I get, you know, wooden tokens, wooden components, upgraded stuff. I can see here why the price is a little bit more, because you're adding in those acrylic standees. You know, most people offer acrylic standees for about 15 to 20 US dollars, somewhere in that vicinity. So I can see how they got to the $90 price point. But I think there was some components here that they could do without, like those wooden easels. I think they could have done without those wooden easels and help reduce the deluxe edition price or the cost even more, or maybe replace that, you know, at that $90 price point. Have no cardboard tokens at all. Everything is wooden tokens. That I can see being a $90 price point tag, but I just feel with what I've seen and experienced the game, some of the quality of the components and how they're starting to wear out, I think at that $90 price point, it is slightly overpriced and a little bit lacking for that cost. All right, guys, moving on to my overall rating. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Tabletop Inc. a 7.5 out of 10. I think Tabletop Inc. is a good game that is borderlining on great. You know, it's got a good solid theme to it. Who doesn't love a board game about making board games? It's got some great components. I think it's got a great length to it with the pacing for a Euro style game. I think it's got some great replayability, and all in all, I think that this one is solid. I'd love to play it a little bit more, especially using some of those other modules and at higher player counts to see if it could get up to that great rating for me. But for now, I've played this heavily at 2 players. At that 2-player count, I played it occasionally at 3 players. I'm coming with a 7.5. I think it's a solid, good game that does some things really, really well. So let's go and talk about some of the things I really enjoyed about this game. The first one is I love that Tabletop Inc. gives you a Euro style feel, but does not give you the Euro style length, right? As I mentioned, I think the pacing and how the game works, it does really well. It's got a bunch of actions. You know, most Euro style games have a bunch of different actions, but it doesn't really put you in an analysis paralysis here. Again, the game kind of guides you along of what you're supposed to do. There's 2 main actions: making those boxes, crafting the components and the mechanisms, and then 3 actually, and then publishing your particular game. So while there's a bevy of actions, you're really just trying to do 3 main actions, and it's like, how do I get the resources necessary to do those 3 actions? So I might have to take some of those, I'm gonna have to take some of those other actions in order to do it. But you know me, I like my Euro style games, but sometimes I don't like the length of those Euro games. So I think Tabletop Inc. does a really great job of giving me that Euro style feel, but not giving me the 90 to 120 minute length that some of those Euro games can have. Okay, the second thing I really enjoyed about Tabletop Inc. is just the overall concept of the game. Again, it's a board game about making board games. This one is always going to be in my table or in my collection here, just from that standpoint, right? That is what is going to sell this game, I do believe. It's just a unique theme that nobody has ever done before. And when you have board gamers that are like, hey, you want to play a board game about making board games? They're like, what is a board game about making board games? You know, it's going to intrigue them. You get this to the table and they play it, and it just gives them a unique experience. So I really enjoy the overall concept of what Tabletop Inc. is bringing here. And the last thing that I really enjoy is how simple but yet complex this game can be. Again, I've talked about it already kind of with my first point. I love how simple this game is. There's 3 main actions you're trying to focus for, but also there's a lot of complexity with this. It's like, how do I want to get there? Do I want to use freelancers to get more workers? But then probably the more workers I get when I pull them back, it's going to shorten the game time. Do I want to use freelancers and just get more powerful actions, and then I don't have to take any of the 14 actions that are on the table? I can use some of these more powerful actions, right? Do I want to get item cards, skill cards, objective cards to score more victory points? Do I want to focus on trying to get a lot of victory points during the game, right? There's so many different avenues, and there's a lot of strategy here with this game, but also I feel like it's really easy to teach and understand the simpleness of the game as well. So those are the three things I really enjoyed about Tabletop Inc. Let's go ahead and talk about some things that I particularly did not enjoy. The very first one is sometimes the game can feel very short and just kind of leave you hanging or leave you a little bit unsatisfied, right? As I mentioned earlier, that the way the game is going to end is by when you collect your workers, then you're going to move backwards on the track. And sometimes if both players or the other players are getting a lot of these freelancers, more workers are going to be out. You're going to retract more workers, which is going to move the space on the track backwards more times. And so rarely ever, I would say, you're maybe going to be able to publish maybe 2 to 3 board games in a playthrough. Sometimes it might just be 2 board games. And like I said, the game just sometimes ends a little too quickly and it just leaves you feeling like, man, like I just kind of started getting everything going and figured it out. Like I wish I had the opportunity to make some more board games. But, yeah, that's one of the first things I particularly did not enjoy is I wish they made it to where whenever you would pull back workers, your freelancers did not count as a worker. So everybody would only be pulling 4 workers back every time. Now that might extend the playtime a little bit, so I'd be curious to see how that works. But again, sometimes when there's a lot of workers and freelancers out, the game can extend or the game can end very quickly, a little quicker than what you expect. All right. Last thing that I particularly did not enjoy is there's an award system, talking about the award system of the game. So when you publish a game, you have the opportunity to take an award action. And so players are going to be dealt an award card prior to the game. And on that award card is going to give them certain levels of the different components that they're trying to achieve. So let's say a level 1 award, you're gonna need a level 2 box, a level 2 mechanism, and a level 1 component. If you can do that, you take that, if you have that, you take that award, you publish the game, you take that award action, you come over to the shelf here. So all the level 1 awards are gonna be at the bottom, the 2s in the middle, and the 3s on top. You take that action, you would put whatever criteria your box makes, and then you get to display it on the shelf, which is really cool. But you also get to take an award token, which is going to award you more points than what your board game would originally award you or score at the end of the game. My only issue with this is the award cards are not all the same. They are different. So they're going to have different requirements, but sometimes those requirements are going to give you more victory points. And so I feel like sometimes that can be unfair or unbalanced because obviously level 1 is going to be the least amount of components. Everybody at the table, level 1 is going to be different for them. And the scoring for the level 1 is going to be different as well. It's not going to give each player the same amount. So if everybody is just trying to complete level 1 awards around the table, they're going to score different victory points for that. And you know what? I just think that all those awards, they should be scored the same so that everybody is going to have, I wish I had found a better way to do that. Eventually what I'm trying to say is that those award cards are all going to have different scoring on them. And I just wish that they were all the same. All right, guys, well, look, I'm rambling now, so we're gonna go ahead and move on with the rest of the video. Last thing, if I had the opportunity to back this game, would I do so? Yes, I would back Tabletop Inc. Again, I get, like I said, this is a unique themed game. Would I back the deluxe edition? Man, that is a tough call. I would say, honestly, I think I would just get the standard version of the game if I had the opportunity to back it. I don't think the deluxe components are that amazing. Yes, this shelf does add some table presence and the acrylic standees are really nice, but with those component and mechanism tokens, like I wish those were wooden as well in the deluxe, and I would say yes. But since they're not and the coins are not a cardboard punch out, it's weird having a mix of like some tokens are wooden and some tokens are cardboard punch outs. Like I'd rather just have all of my tokens be wooden or all of my tokens be cardboard punch out. So I would definitely back this game again, but I'd probably just back it at the standard or core level. And that would be that. All right, guys. Well, look, again, enough rambling and chitter chatter for me. This video went a little bit longer than I intended it to. That is my in-depth review of Tabletop Inc. If you guys enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, drop down in the comments below. Have you played Tabletop Inc? What is your thoughts and opinions on it? And last but not least, guys, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.